All right, let's be real for a second. When people think of JDM legends, the same names get thrown around every single time: the Supra, the Skyline, the RX-7, the NSX. And yeah, those cars deserve the hype, no question. But here's the thing: not every JDM legend is sitting at six-figure prices or locked away in a collector's garage. Some of them, they're just chilling in obscurity, forgotten by most people waiting for someone like you to scoop them up on the cheap. So today, we're going to talk about 5 forgotten JDM legends you can still buy without selling your kidney. These are cars that have the DNA of greatness, the kind of machines that were way ahead of their time, but somehow slipped through the cracks of car culture. And the best part, they're still affordable if you know where to look. Strap in, because by the end of this video, you might be rethinking what your next project car should be. Let's start with a car that literally no one remembers until you remind them: the Mazda MX-6 GT Turbo. If you've ever looked at the Mazda MX-6 and thought, hey, just another 90s coupe, you'd only be half right. On the surface, the MX-6 looks like a typical sporty front-wheel drive coupe built to compete with stuff like the Honda Prelude and Toyota Celica. But under the hood of the GT Turbo model, things get a whole lot more interesting. Powering this forgotten gem is the F2T engine, a 2.2-liter turbocharged inline-4, making around 145 horsepower and 190 pound-feet of torque. Now I know 145 horsepower doesn't sound like much, even by 80s standards. But here's the secret: the F2T is built like a tank. The bottom end is iron block over-engineered and loves boost. Stock, these things are pretty mild. Throw on a bigger turbo, upgrade the fuel system, and you can push 300-plus horsepower without breaking a sweat. For a car you can snag for under $5,000, that's insane value. The MX-6 also shared a lot of parts with the Ford Probe and Mazda 626, which means aftermarket support and replacement parts are surprisingly cheap and available. Plus, because nobody really cares about the MX-6, insurance is dirt cheap. It's the definition of a sleeper, a car that looks like it belongs in your grandma's driveway, but will gap someone's stock WRX if you put in the work. Why is it forgotten? Easy: the MX-6 never had the cult following of the RX-7, and front-wheel drive meant enthusiasts didn't take it as seriously. But real JDM heads know this is one of those hidden treasures that can embarrass way more expensive cars once it's modded. Current prices: you can find clean examples between $3,500 and $5,500, with rough project cars going for even less. Considering how rare they're getting, this is one of those cars you should scoop up before people realize what they missed. Next up, let's talk about something with a little more class: the Toyota Cressida. Now, I already know what you're thinking. Bro, isn't the Cressida just some old Toyota sedan my uncle drove to work? Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's such a sleeper legend. Here's what makes the Cressida so special. Underneath that boxy 80s or 90s sedan body, the Cressida was basically the Japanese market Toyota Markatututan Tsitai Tuai Toots Chaser Cresta cars that JDM fans absolutely drool over. And better yet, a lot of them came with Toyota's 1JZ or 7MGE straight 6 engines, depending on the generation. That means smooth, reliable power, and in the case of the 1JZ, serious tuning potential. The later X80 series Cressida even came with rear-wheel drive and an independent rear suspension, making it the perfect platform for drifting or just having fun sliding around. Think of it as the undercover cousin of the Supra, and Chaser. Nobody pays attention to it, but the DNA is there. Why is it forgotten? Because in the US market, the Cressida was sold as a luxury sedan, competing against stuff like the Acura Legend and Nissan Maxima. Most owners were older folks who never modded them, so the car never built a performance reputation here. But in Japan, the same platform became legendary thanks to drifting Touge battles and street racing culture. Today, you can still find decent Cressidas for $4,000 to $7,000. depending on condition. They're getting rarer, but if you grab one now, you basically have a budget chaser. And people are finally starting to wake up to how cool these things are. All right, now, let's talk about a car that's criminally overlooked, the Mitsubishi Galant VR4. Before the Lancer evolution took over the world, Mitsubishi had another rally-bred sedan, the Galant VR4. This thing was the direct ancestor of the Evo, and yet almost no one talks about it anymore. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, Mitsubishi decided to homologate their rally car for Group A competition. The result was the Galant VR4, a four-door sedan packing a turbocharged 4G63 engine, yep, the same motor later used in the Evo and DSM cars, and Mitsubishi's AWD system with four-wheel steering. For its time, this was insane. You had a family sedan that could rocket from 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds while carving corners like a sports car. In rallying, the VR4 actually went head-to-head with legends like the Subaru Legacy RS and Lancia Delta Integrail. And on the street, it was one of the first affordable turbo AWD sedans you could buy. Sounds familiar, right? That's because it paved the way for the Evo and Subaru WRX. So why is it forgotten? Simple, the Evo stole the spotlight. Once the Lancer evolution came out, everyone forgot about the VR4, even though it's basically the OG. Add in Mitsubishi's declining reputation in the US, and the Galant VR4 just kind of faded into obscurity. The crazy part, you can still find them for $6,000, $8,000 in decent condition. Sure, they're rare, and parts can sometimes be a headache, but if you want a piece of JDM rally history for cheap, this is it. Now, let's talk about the angry little hatchback that time forgot, the Nissan Pulsar GTI-R. If the Galant VR4 was Mitsubishi's rally weapon, the Pulsar GTI-R was Nissan's attempt at the same thing. And man, what an attempt it was. The GTI-R took the humble Pulsar hatchback, basically the Nissan Sentra's cousin, and gave it a complete glow-up. Under the hood, a SR20 turbocharged 2.0-liter, putting out 227 horsepower, paired with an all-wheel drive system. And get this, the whole car only weighed around 200 to 700 pounds. That gave it a power-to-weight ratio that embarrassed a lot of bigger, more expensive cars at the time. And just like the Galant VR4, the GTI-R was built to homologate Nissan's rally car program. It competed in Group A, and while it wasn't as successful as the Lancia or Subaru teams, it left behind one of the craziest hot hatches Japan ever produced. Think of it as a 90s WRX STI hatch before Subaru made one. So why is it forgotten? Because Nissan didn't sell it in the U.S., and only hardcore JDM importers really cared about it. Plus, it's a hatchback. And let's be honest, Americans have never really loved hatchbacks the way Europeans and Japanese buyers do. But here's the kicker. Thanks to the 25-year import rule, these things are now legal in the U.S., and you can find them for $8,000 to $12,000 depending on condition. That's still insanely cheap for what's basically a rally-bred AWD turbo hatch with Skyline DNA. Finally, let's wrap this list up with one of the strangest, most underrated Subarus ever made, the Subaru SVX. If you've never seen one before, the SVX looks like something out of Blade Runner. Designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro, the same guy who styled cars like the DeLorean DMC-12, the SVX was Subaru's attempt at building a futuristic luxury grand tourer in the 90s. It came with a 3.3-liter EG33 flat-six engine, making around 230 horsepower, paired with Subaru's all-wheel drive system. That gave it smooth, effortless power delivery, and it was genuinely quick for its time. Plus, it had this weird spaceship-like design with window-within-a-window side glass, one of the most unique styling cues of any 90s JDM car. The SVX was supposed to take Subaru upmarket, competing against cars like the Nissan 300ZX and Toyota Soarer. But the timing was all wrong. The car was expensive heavy, and a little too weird for mainstream buyers. As a result, Subaru only sold about 14,000 of them in the US, and most people forgot it ever existed. Why should you care? Because the SVX is one of the cheapest ways to own a truly unique JDM GT car. It's comfortable, powerful, rare, and unlike anything else on the road. Prices today hover around $40, $500 to $7,500 for decent examples, which is a steal considering how much character this car has. And there you have it, 5 forgotten JDM legends you can still buy cheap. The Mazda MX-6 GT, Turbo Toyota, Cressida, Mitsubishi, Galant VR4, Nissan Pulsar, GTI-R, and Subaru SVX all prove one thing: you don't need to chase Supras and Skylines to own a piece of Japanese car history. Some of the most interesting and fun JDM cars ever built are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone to appreciate them again. So whether you're looking for a drift-ready sedan, a rally-bred sleeper, or just something weird and unique to stand out, at a car, meet these cars deliver without destroying your bank account. Now, I want to hear from you. Which one of these forgotten JDM legends would you actually buy? Drop a comment below, and let's see which car gets the most love. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss more underrated JDM content just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.